Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of the SWAS Monday Night Football. We got Bills, Jets. Quick recap of the weekend. It was a cool one, man. Had a lot of fun. College football Saturday. I actually went 7-3-1 on Saturday. On the Sunday morning NFL show, I said I went 8-2-1. I just messed up. It was 7-3-1. Sorry about that. Top bets went 2-0-1. That stupid Kansas State push. Should have been 3-0 for the top bets. But definitely a real nice college football Saturday, and I needed it, man. College football has been killing me. As far as NFL Sunday, not a great afternoon. I mean, I need the Bengals. My top bet is Bengals minus 3.5. So by the time you're watching this, you'll know if I got my top bet. I got 1.5 units on Bengals minus 3.5. So even though this afternoon wasn't great, if I get Bengals minus 3.5, it really wasn't a bad Sunday. I lost a few dollars. So hopefully by the time you're watching this, Bengals minus 3.5 will have covered. But let's talk about Bills Jets.
Welcome to the SWAS. The SWAS. SWAS. Hey, get the sauce.
All right, like I said, Buffalo's on the road in MetLife here. This line is now down to 1. It was sitting at 2.5 for most of the week. It's now just Jets plus 1. I do see a couple 1.5s out there. Total sitting at 40.5 or 41, depending on your sports book. Let's take a quick look at the pie charts, and according to this data, action's coming in on the Buffalo side. Over 60% of the tickets, about 50-50 in terms of money splits, indicating some sharp action on the Jets side. And I mean, that is in line with the line dropping from 2.5 to 1, so I guess that makes sense. But as I always say, take this data with a grain of salt. So let's talk about this matchup, and we'll start with the Bills offense. Numbers on the season looking pretty mediocre. 19th in yards per play, 15th in success rate, 4th in EPA, 8th in DVOA. Pretty average, slightly above average passing numbers, pretty average rushing numbers. But the story with this Bills offense has been the drop-off in production, right? I mean, through weeks 1 through 3, the Bills were looking like one of the best offenses in the NFL. They were averaging over 37 points per game, 6.4 yards per play, 53.6% success rate on offense. Very impressive. And since then, it's been almost the exact opposite. In their last 2 games, just 15 points per game, 4.9 yards per play, success rate all the way down below 35%. Josh Allen, after 3 weeks, if we ended the season after 3 weeks, Josh Allen was getting the MVP award. Last 2 games, the Bills' passing numbers are way down, just 5.1 yards per pass attempt, 36.1% success rate per dropback, just 156.5 passing yards per game, average passer rating of 64.3. So the Bills' offensive production fell off a cliff in the last 2 games. And now, Josh Allen is matched up against a Jets pass defense that's almost on the exact opposite trajectory. Through the first 2 games, the Jets are looking shaky against the pass. 211.5 passing yards allowed per game isn't bad, but 7.4 yards per pass attempt allowed, 50% success rate per dropback. Jets pass defense was looking a little shaky there in the first couple weeks. Look at the numbers since then. In their last 3 games against New England, okay. Denver, okay. Minnesota solid, though. But they're allowing just 127.7 passing yards per game, 36.5% success rate per dropback, just 4.6 yards per pass attempt allowed with an average passer rating of 65. So the Jets pass defense looks to be back, that elite Jets pass defense from last year. That's what we've seen the last 3 weeks. But honestly, the Bills' passing attack really depends more on, are they going to be able to get the run going? This Bills' offense under Joe Brady wants to run the football. He's made it very clear by his play calling what they're trying to do here. They're trying to hand the ball off to James Cook, chew up the clock, just 31st in pace, 7th in run frequency. They want to control the pace of the game and rock that defense to sleep, set him up for a big play through the air from Josh Allen. So we should probably start by taking a look at the Jets' numbers against the run. Not nearly as impressive as their numbers against the pass, but it's not terrible. They're 7th in the NFL in yards per carry allowed, 26th in success rate per rush is not good, 13th in EPA, 24th in run defense DVOA. So the Jets pretty average, maybe slightly above average against the run. But I do have good news for the Jets. CJ Mosley most likely back. I mean, he's listed as questionable, but he's been participating in light practice all week. Getting Mosley back on the field would be huge for the Jets' run defense. He hasn't played since week 3. While we have this depth chart up, obviously we know Reddick and Jermaine Johnson are out. Jermaine Johnson out for the season. Reddick is holding out for a contract. I don't think he's ever going to play for the Jets, if we're being honest. They do have McDonald, though, who's killing it at defensive end, not pictured here. Michael Carter's out. We do have to mention that Michael Carter's going to miss this game. Obviously, the Jets secondary is still loaded, but Michael Carter's a nice player for them. But since we're talking about injuries, we also have to mention that the Bills might be without a couple weapons here. Khalil Shakir and James Cook, both listed as questionable, both missed Thursday and Friday's practice. Now, both did participate in light practice on Saturday, but I'm not sure. Just one practice on Saturday. I'm not sure if these guys are going to play. Obviously, we're trying to figure out if the Bills are going to be able to run the ball on the Jets here. James Cook not playing in this game would be significant information. We obviously need to know that. Now, they do have Ty Johnson and Ray Davis, so it's not like they'd be completely screwed if James Cook is unable to go in this one. Ty Johnson has shown us he's a capable back, and Ray Davis, I mean, we haven't seen much from him in the NFL. He was a beast at Kentucky, though. So they do have backs, but obviously James Cook is their guy. That's the guy they want out here. So how do we figure out if the Jets are going to be able to stop this Bills rushing attack? Well, I thought a good place to look would be to see how the Jets run defense performed against good rushing attacks. Because we can look at their game logs. Oh, sweet. They shut down Denver's rushing attack. Cool. You shut down New England's rushing attack. Sweet. How did they perform against good rushing attacks? Because we know the Bills are a good offense. So I pulled up the numbers from San Francisco and Minnesota, two teams I would consider to have good rushing attacks. And the Jets' run defense held their own in these games. 132.5 rushing yards per game, but just 4.1 yards per carry. That's really not bad. Success rate per rush under 40%. So the two times the Jets saw good rushing attacks, they held their own. And by the way, I should mention, CJ Mosley did not play in the Minnesota game. So I do think this Jets defense is capable of stopping this Bills rushing attack. Maybe not completely shutting it down, but certainly giving it problems. But let's talk about the matchup for Josh Allen. We already know what the Jets are going to be doing defensively. They're going to be running man coverage, going to be running a lot of cover one. They're 6th in man coverage frequency, 5th in cover one frequency. Josh Allen has some solid looking numbers against man coverage on the year. Out of 39 qualified quarterbacks, he's 8th in passer rating, 12th in yards per attempt. Not quite as good against cover one, 14th and 23rd, but as far as matchups against the coverage is really nothing to take away here. What I do like, though, for the Jets, Josh Allen does not play well in this stadium. In his last two trips to MetLife to play the Jets, 220.5 passing yards per game, 1 touchdown, 5 interceptions, just a 55.5 passer rating. So Josh Allen, his last 2 times he came here to try to throw the ball on the Jets, did not work out well for him. For the record, the Bills lost both of those games. Yeah, the Jets missing Michael Carter from the secondary in this one definitely hurts, but I still don't like the matchup for Josh Allen. I think the Jets defense is going to give the Bills all kinds of problems in this one, both against the run and the pass. But what about the other side of the ball? Let's talk about the Jets offense, and if you look at their numbers on the year, it's not looking great. 27th in yards per play, 19th in success rate, 24th in EPA, 23rd in DVOA. The last 2 games in particular, just 13 points per game, 4.3 yards per play, 36.8% success rate as a team. But if you really look at the Jets' last 2 games, it wasn't the most ideal conditions. First, they played Denver, who might be a top 3 defense this year. Look at the Denver defensive metrics this season. This is an elite defense. So they played Denver in the rain, and then they went to London to play the Vikings, who might be the only defense that's definitively better than Denver. You can make an argument that the Jets have played back-to-back top 3 defenses here. One was in the rain, and one was in London. Look, I'm not trying to sit here and make excuses for the Jets' poor offensive performances, but I mean, back-to-back games against top 3 defenses in the rain and then in London, that is a little weird. Not the most ideal conditions for moving the football. So you could argue that this home game, where the weather's supposed to be okay, against the Bills defense, which is, by the way, pretty good, just not nearly as good as Denver's or Minnesota's, this is the best opportunity the Jets have had to move the football and score some points in a few weeks now. Bills defensive numbers on the year: 12th in yards per play, 11th in success rate, 9th in EPA, 6th in DVOA. As I'm sure you already know, same as last year, weakness of this Bills defense is stopping the run. Dead last, 32nd in the NFL in yards per carry allowed, 10th in success rate per rush, 24th in run defense EPA, 7th in run defense DVOA. So are the Jets able to exploit that? Are the Jets going to be able to run the ball in this game? Well, if you look at their numbers on the year, I mean, they haven't been running the ball at all. Averaging just 80.8 rushing yards per game, 3.6 yards per carry, 33.2% success rate per rush is terrible. But if you look at their opponents, it does make a little sense. I mean, San Francisco, Tennessee's got a great defensive front. New England, whatever. I mean, not a great defense, but not an absolutely terrible defense. Denver, great defense. Minnesota, great defense. So in terms of running the football, the Jets have not had the best of opportunities. That being said, I'm not sure if they're really able to run it here against the Bills either. They run a lot of zone concept blocking blocking schemes, 8th most in the NFL. That happens to be the strength of Buffalo's defense, 12th in yards per carry, 6th in success rate. Buffalo struggles much more with gap concept blocking schemes. So even though I do think the Jets' run game will turn around and get going at some point, and the Bills' run defense isn't great, I doubt it'll be a rushing explosion here. Not to mention the Bills' run defense is coming into this one off of their best game of the season by far. When on the road to Houston, held them to just 94 yards rushing, 3.4 yards per carry. A great defensive performance against the run in this game for Buffalo. Granted, Joe Mixon was hurt. Houston can't run the ball. I mean, I'm not going to throw them a parade for it, but they are coming into this one with a little bit of momentum in terms of stopping the run. But we do have to talk about injuries, and actually on this side of the ball, these work in the Jets' favor. Morgan Moses is back. He hasn't played since week 3. Huge part of this Jets offensive line. Great run blocking tackle. Great pass blocking tackle as well. Like I said, he missed the last 2 weeks. He's going to be back for this one. And Buffalo is going to be without Ed Oliver again, one of their DTs. Now, the Buffalo defensive line is still pretty loaded, but not having Ed Oliver out there is definitely significant. So you know what? Maybe the Jets are able to run the ball on the Bills a little bit. Now, what about throwing the ball? This is obviously the strength of the Bills' defense. They're 5th in yards per pass attempt allowed, 14th in success rate per dropback, 7th in EPA, 10th in pass defense DVOA. But just like their passing offense, started off the season hot, racked up some really elite-looking stats, and then is definitely trending in the wrong direction here. So in their first 3 games against Arizona, Miami, and Jacksonville, they're allowing just 5.1 yards per pass attempt, 195.7 passing yards per game, average opponent pass rating of 70.9. They're playing great defense against the pass in those first 3 games. Look at the 2 games since then. Baltimore and Houston, they got lit up through the air. 8.6 yards per pass attempt, 54.4% success rate per dropback, an average passer rating of 115.3. So this Bills pass defense looks so good for 3 weeks, and the last 2 weeks it looks so bad. And when it comes to Aaron Rodgers and the Jets passing offense, I feel like these numbers don't 100% reflect the kind of passing attack they have. They're just 28th in yards per pass attempt. I mean, 21st, 23rd. Not the greatest looking passing numbers here, but keep in mind the last 2 games they played. 2 elite defenses in the rain and then in London. The game before that, Aaron Rodgers looked like he was just finding his groove. It was his best game as a Jet. 281 passing yards in the game for the Jets, 8 yards per attempt, 74.3% success rate per dropback, 118.9 passer rating. Aaron Rodgers was starting to look comfortable in this Jets offense. And then they played a rainy game against the elite Denver offense and a London game against the elite Vikings offense. And yeah, you might be worried about the Bills' pass rush here, putting pressure on Aaron Rodgers. They're 7th in pressure rate, 7th in pass rush grade, 14th in adjusted sack rate. How's Aaron Rodgers going to deal with that? Well, let's not forget that in their first 3 games, the Jets' offensive line, before Morgan Moses got hurt, they had one of the best pass protections in the NFL. Aaron Rodgers through 3 games was pressured on just 24.2% of his dropbacks. That's the 2nd least in the NFL. And it's not like they didn't see any defenses. I mean, yeah, the Patriots, but Tennessee, they've got a great defensive front. They went on the road to San Francisco. Obviously, we know the 49ers have a pass rush. And in that San Francisco game, Aaron Rodgers wasn't even under pressure. He was pressured on just 22% of his dropbacks, 22.1%. One of the least pressured quarterbacks in the NFL week 1 against the 49ers. So when Morgan Moses is on that offensive line, the Jets have an elite pass protection. As far as the Bills secondary goes, we know they're going to be running a lot of zone coverage, a lot of cover 2, 5th in zone frequency, 7th in cover 2 frequency, 5th in 2 high safety frequency. That's music to Aaron Rodgers' ears, because against cover 2 this year, he's 2nd in the NFL in passer rating, completing over 89% of his passes. Granted, super small sample size. I think he only has 23 dropbacks against cover 2, so maybe take these a little bit tongue-in-cheek. But Aaron Rodgers, extremely successful against cover 2 so far this year. Bills run a ton of cover 2. So where does that leave me in terms of placing a bet? I think we're going to see a vintage Aaron Rodgers game. I like Aaron Rodgers to piece the Bills up, which is why I'm on the Jets here. Can't believe I didn't get a 2.5. I saw that early in the week and I was like, oh, I'll wait for a 3. I don't even know why I thought that. I mean, I should have known that it was way more likely to drop than go up to 3. That was just stupidity on my part. I did get a Jets plus 1.5. I think it's at +1 now. I think the Jets win the game. So I'm on the Jets here. I think Aaron Rodgers has a good game. Yeah. Let's go Jets. Live show is going to be at 4 p.m. Eastern time. We'll go through this game, do some props, touchdown scores. Also, we'll talk about the playoff MLB games. If you're able to make it, we'd love to see you in the comments. Yeah, let's have a good Monday night here. Remember to bet responsibly. Talk to you later.